What a tough act to follow. So my name is Yuval Moore, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Beyond Verbal. First of all, I'm very excited to be here my first time. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. But next year, please let me talk before him and not after him, because that's making it pretty tough. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm getting a phone call from a friend of mine, and he's saying, hey, you know, I have these tickets to this great basketball game. Do you want to join me? It's tonight. I said, yeah, sure, I'm out the door. So right when I'm there at the door, my wife kind of, hey, Yuval, where are you going? And I said, I'm going with Joe, my friend, to go see this basketball game. Is everything okay? And she says, yes, everything is fine. You go and have fun with your friend. So at that moment, I knew I'm in trouble. But I knew I'm in deep trouble, not because of what she said, but how she said it. And I guess you kind of get this in the tone. So we know that the voice is a great tool, and it can convey a lot of messages, but it can convey a lot more messages than just the actual meaning of the word, but also the tone of voice that gives the additional color. So I trust you can be a very powerful word coming from a trusted friend, or it can have a completely different meaning in a political settings. Now, because we are talking about the political settings, we couldn't avoid giving some examples of real, interesting, emotional situations around the political arena. We've done some analysis around some of the presidential debates. I hope you would be able to see it because some of it is pretty interesting. Let's see if technology would work.
Better judgment than she does. There's no question about that. I also have a much better temperament than she has. You know, I have a much better. She spent, let me tell you, she spent hundreds of millions of dollars on an advertising. You know, they get Madison Avenue into a room, they put names, oh, temperament, let's go after. I think my strongest asset, maybe by far, is my temperament. I have a winning temperament. I know how to win. She does not know how to win. Wait. The AFL-CIO the other day, behind the blue screen, I don't know who you were talking to, Secretary Clinton, but you were totally out of control. I said, there's a person with a temperament that's got a problem.
Just for the balance, right? We have to keep it very balanced.
And he made it very clear that he didn't prepare for that debate. You know, at one point he was kind of digging me for spending time off the campaign trail to get prepared, but just trying to keep track of everything he says took a lot of time and effort. And I said, yeah, you know what? I did prepare, and I'll tell you something else I prepared for. I prepared to be President of the United States, and I think that's good.
So we have a technology, as you've seen, we've tried to take this whole emotional thing and turn it into a science. Originally, our tagline was the science of emotions. And the subtitles that you've seen are actually coming from our engine in real time, and this is something that we can feed. We actually have a website called Mood of the Election. If you want to have some fun, you can go and see some really interesting analysis there. But really the whole idea is, can you quantify emotions? And all the discussions we've heard about before during today's presentation, really that's the focus. We rely on a research that started over 20 years ago. We have in our database, growing database, over 2.5 million languages, 2.5 million voice samples that coming from over 40 languages. It's interesting to see that this is something that is language agnostic. It doesn't rely on the language. Actually, this is how, if you think about this, babies communicate with their parents. So the whole research started by our chief scientist, Dr. Levanon, over 20 years ago, with this question in mind. He said, if you take a baby at a very young age, and you look at how they communicate with their parents before they understand words, sometimes very early on before they can see, you can see that the babies can sense if their parents are stressed or relaxed, if they are loving or anxious. And it means that there is something that is going in the air between the babies and the parents, and this is just based on the tone of voice. Another interesting way to look at it is if you take a baby from another country, let's say you take a baby from Brazil, you bring it over for adoption to Israel. This is where I'm coming from. I flew in, landed at 6 a.m. This morning to come to this conference. You take the baby very early on, and the baby, doesn't matter where the baby was born, would still understand these signals, which means that this is coming from a precognitive, a part of the brain that was developed before the cognitive part. Now we can take this technology and start to use it in a variety of ways. One way is to let machines have much better understanding of us as humans. In fact, we can take any type of sensor that has a microphone and an internet connections and turn it into an emotion sensor. Now, when you think about the communication between machines and humans, you can see that there is a gap there, because with humans over billions of years, there's been always the development of the IQ and the EQ element. But when you're talking about devices, when you're talking about machines, we mostly count on the IQ part, the processing power, memory size, and so on. Here we see that the missing element is the EQ, and this is where our technology, as well as other technologies that are out there for facial analysis, for sentiment analysis, for words understanding, this is where we can help in facilitating the communication between humans and machines. But we can take this to other implementations as well. This is a few examples of some use cases. Think about kids on the autistic spectrum, Asperger's syndromes, and so on, that can understand words literally. This is also when you're talking about words understanding, speech to text, and so on. You can see that this is kind of really in the black and white area. You understand it, you get the very basic knowledge, which is very important. But if you want to start to have a little bit of colors, this is when you need to understand the emotions and not just the basic words. Or if you think about emotional situations like after giving birth, having the ability to add value in these types of emotions understanding, or if we take this to areas of remote home care, if we can have in smart home devices that can listen on an ongoing basis, create a baseline, and really change the way remote home care is being done. In fact, we can see a variety of use cases for where we can implement emotions understanding or emotions analytics, as it's being called. I really like this term, by the way, because in a way, it's an oxymoron, right? How can you quantify emotions? That's why emotions analytics, it's such a powerful term, because now it's possible. So around automotive, understanding when the driver is not paying attention or is about to road rage. Smart home devices. Imagine you come home, your device can actually understand that you're very tired and maybe change the lights, choose the right music. Or if we are talking about family circles, imagine you get on the way home a message that says, hey, your wife had a very rough day today. She's pretty upset. Bring flowers, or go directly to drink beer and avoid home altogether. These are the kind of things, and we would create these circles, and we would define who we want to share this information with and who we do not want. I spoke with Susan Pinker, if you're familiar with her, very well-known psychologist, the other day, and I said, imagine you would be able to know how your 82 years old mom feel, so you would be able to call her when she's upset. And she said, my mom would never agree for me to have this kind of sensor. I said, okay, but what if it would be mutual? If she would be able to tell when you are too stressed and give you a call. So that's the kind of things that this technology would enable. But then we realized we can take it to another level. And another level is understanding this whole body and mind kind of connection. And we all know this is really there, and you can see how your emotions can influence your wellness, right? If you are stressed, if you are in a depression, or if you are excited, or if you are in love, it can definitely influence your wellness. And if you are stressed for a long time and you can measure this on an ongoing basis to really have like the emotional well-being element, this can also influence your health conditions. But this is a circle. If you are not healthy, it will definitely influence your emotions. So now we are actually taking it to the next level. And the next level is this listening to your body thing. Now, there are things that are very intuitive. We all know in a lot of cases, we tell our parents, kids, siblings, friends, you should listen to your body more carefully, right? You had this flu, you don't feel so well. Take a better look. Really listen to your body. But now we can do this scientifically. And that's where it's becoming really interesting. Now, for us, as in a lot of cases, actually for the scientist, our chief scientist, it started by mistake. He was focused only on the emotional part. And part of it is understanding also people's emotional decision-making characteristic, risk-prone, risk-averse, and so on. Had a group in the lab of about 10 people that he knew personally and did the analysis and got really bad results, really results that he couldn't figure out. Now, his background is from physics, so for him, it's either working 100% or 95% or something is wrong. That's why he drives us completely nuts. Can you imagine the emotional discussions we have in an emotions analytics company? But basically, he took a look back and said something is wrong here. And then he realized that all of the people, because there were people that he knew from before, all had reading dyslexia. So then he said, okay, then maybe there are some things that are projected through the voice, some voice distortions, voice abnormalities that actually can give indications about medical conditions. And this is where about 8 or 9 years ago, we started a completely new area of research, of using the technology in kind of medical space. He did a lot of work, mostly with high-end and well-known universities and hospitals in Israel, mostly around neurological conditions, Parkinson, ALS, reading dyslexia, finding out indications about autism at young age kids. When I came into the picture, when we started Beyond Verbal about 4 years ago and acquired the technology, I felt it wasn't substantiated enough. And so I was looking to do something which is, from my perspective, something that we can rely on more. And this is when, around 2 years ago, we started the research with Mayo Clinic about the ability to detect heart conditions, more specifically, coronary artery disease, being able to detect it just by the tone of voice. So actually, we're going to publish some of the early results towards the end of the year, so I can't talk about this with too many details, so definitely invite you to follow up and see, but we see some phenomenally exciting results over there. And that led us to say, okay, looks like there is something there, so we should create a collaboration, a collaborative platform that we can bring researchers from all over the world and really do a collaboration in order to find a lot of conditions like this. And this is where we see, like we saw before, the connections between emotions, wellness, and health. Now the question is, where are we going with all of this? This is the vision. I think that the idea is to have for each one of us kind of a guardian angel that is personal. You know, I give the example always, at least to Israeli people, I said it's like your Jewish mother that is hovering here all the time and is telling you, you don't sound so well, what's going on? She's not good enough for you. All of these things that can be really, really personalized. That's what we are looking for. Something that can monitor our talks during the day, phone calls, or something that we can speak on like a daily basis, and basically tell us three basic things. It's not a diagnostic device or a capability, at least not yet, but it can tell you, you know, looks like everything is fine, you can go about your day. Or there is, and something is, you know, not totally in place, maybe have additional checking. And if it's red, it doesn't mean go to the emergency room, but it means that we have identified, using your baseline, something that is significantly different, and we can also associate it with, you know, these areas of conditions. Call your doctor. This is the next step. This can be very, very personalized, and this is the future. This can be really make a huge difference in remote home care, in family connections, and so on. So, why are we using the voice? I think it's pretty clear. Voice can be collected in a passive way, non-intrusive, no need for compliance, continuously, cost-effectively, and so on. It's a very natural thing. If you look at Chinese old medicine, one of the 4 or 5 things that a Chinese old doctor would do when the patient would come in is, and they're doing some weird stuff there, by the way, they are smelling the patients, they are looking at them, and they are also listening to their tone of voice. So in a way now we have the capability to really quantify this. So that's the reason why, and what we want to do is to take tone of voice, voice modulation, and really turn them into measurable biomarkers in order to do this continuous monitoring and eventually improve our wellness and our health for us and for our loved ones. So that's it for me. Thanks again for the opportunity, and I'll be around here. Thank you.